Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you inside the beautiful homes of Chicago's top designers and tastemakers. Prepare to be swept away by glamour on the Gold Coast and maximalist studio apartments in the heart of the Windy City. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Curtis, and this is our Chicago apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hey everybody, I'm Curtis Taylor Jr.
And I'm Danielle Taylor.
And we are here in our home in Chicago, Illinois. It's roughly around 700 square feet, so it's considered. And it's our little corner and oasis in the city. When we got this apartment in 2020,
Yep.
it really was more Danielle's style. I was more of like the modern, sleek, bachelor pad type of home.
With a pop of color.
Yeah,
That was you.
always with color. But when we found this home, it just had really good bones and like really good character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the built-in shelves were the first thing that I noticed.
Yeah, the molding. We liked the molding, some of the traditional archways and stuff in the home. And the building, just like, it kind of felt a little reminiscent of like Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's definitely like an older pre-war building. So we are subject to things like no central air or heat. And we have these gorgeous radiators, but I mean, it just adds to the character. How did we meet? That's always a great question. And I like to tell my version because I think it's better. So we met on the college campus at the University of Missouri, and I was a freshman. Curtis was a graduate student, a senior at the University of Missouri, and we kind of just met each other in passing, but we didn't make things official until September of 2015, where we went on our first date at an ice cream parlor on campus. So from there, we had a long distance relationship after Curtis graduated and started his directing career in LA. And I came back to Chicago and started my consulting career. And then from there, we kind of did the long distance thing for a while. And then we moved here in 2020.
And then the pandemic happened.
The pandemic, yeah. So he moved here because of the pandemic.
Yes. So my version is, I'll pick up from the pandemic part, is that I came and I never left. And now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
So, it worked out for us.
Yeah.
We are currently here in our entryway. We also like to call this our study. It's our study in transition as we prepare for our larger forever home. Babe, what's some of the details you want to talk about in this space that makes us love this study?
So one of my favorite things in our study or entryway is actually our front door. So when we first moved in, it was a blank slate, completely white with no embellishments. And we really wanted this space to feel like grand and I think just more considered. So what we did is we actually painted the foundation of the door and also added wainscoting. So this was a few trips to Home Depot, but after a trip or two, we were able to kind of get the design down right. We added what is usually used as molding for walls, crown molding, and we added that as our wainscoting. We wanted it to feel like chunky and thick. And also have two layers, so it mirrored some of the designs of the doors that already existed in our home. And then we also added like this little fox from Anthropology. Usually the peephole I think is on the other side of the door. I'm not sure, but we just knew that the outside of a lot of doors that we see in the Chicago area and like historic buildings have such grand doors, and because we live in an apartment, we wanted that to feel like that on the inside of our home. So we also added a kick plate at the bottom because the gold interacts with the gold of our fox and the actual door handle and our lock here.
Also, because like we said, we want to call it a study, which means we need study material. So we added these really nice floating bookshelves that we saw from one of our friends on TikTok or Instagram. And they were just like ones that everybody was talking about on TikTok. So we got these to be able to house some of our books and some of the literature that we have. But we thought it was really important that like in the future, we just want to really keep building and curating this really incredible library. So why not start now? So yeah, we have bell hooks. You know, you gotta have some bell hooks. We got some Toni Morrison in there. Children of Blood and Bone. We got some fiction. Y'all know I love fiction. So yeah, and these are actually going to end up getting put in a shadow box, but these are actually our vow books from our wedding. So these ones covered in a moss are like extra special. But yeah, and like Danielle said, in the continuation of the fox, we have like all of these other like whimsical animal characters throughout the home that you'll find. So we have this horse door stopper that we're using as like a weight. So yeah, this is this. And then also in this space as well. Traditionally, when you're renting, you don't always see like these type of closet doors painted, but we painted them to match the space and to make it feel really warm. And we also added these knobs because everything is renter friendly. These gold embellishment knobs are actually peel and stick, believe it or not. So it's really easy, but they're sturdy. So they still work. And then up here, we added shiplap to the top exterior to mirror on both sides. And then also, we'll talk about this a little bit more later.
Yeah.
But the ceiling, these ceiling panels we also added, which are actually made out of styrofoam from Amazon, and then we painted them. Danielle found them. Incredible renter-friendly hack. But these were drop ceiling tiles. So, you know, drop ceiling tiles get a little. But these now, it just made it feel so much more exquisite. And it really brought the character and the bones of the home that were already here. And then we added this light cover as well, which was also from Amazon, that we love. And then the last thing in this space is this rug right here, which is actually made by our friend Sean Brown. It's a Outcast rug for any of those Outcast fans there. This is The Love Below. So if you know that album, you know it's an incredible masterpiece. And so, you know, we had to add a little bit of culture into the study. My fascination and career is like as a kid growing up in the Midwest, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I always had a really vivid imagination. I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do with that or how that was going to transpire into like making money. But I just knew that there was something fascinating to me about fiction and magic and the ability for things to just come out of nowhere. And so growing up as a kid, I loved Harry Potter and anything adjacent that was like dystopian. And I always just was gravitating towards like design and things that were very interesting. Because in the Midwest, we don't have access to a lot of those things readily, like the coasts do.
Yeah.
And so eventually, that all sort of boiled down into like me hitting my head against the wall on a few things and ultimately landing in like writing and directing. And that finally feeling like a soft place for like my ideas and my sort of like personhood to like come to life. And I feel like it really matches my personality in the end. And then, all within that, there's a sprinkle of design. Directing is like designing the whole thing from beginning to end. So, yeah. Babe, what about you?
Well, how do I follow that, Mr. Writer Director? Um, but my career, telling you about my experience, how did I start? So, honestly, I always loved beauty. I grew up watching YouTube videos and all of the greats that are now working with a lot of the incredible brands that we love and shop in Sephora today. And I didn't know how to make that a career, and I also didn't know how it impacted the planet. All of the cosmetic products, the single-use ingredients and materials that we use in order to enjoy those things. So I started my career in consulting where I learned really how to run a business. And then from there, I co-founded a company that focuses on sustainability and beauty. And then I realized that there was so much more to sustainability than just the actual beauty products themselves. It's the packaging, it's the material and the inputs. So I've started to explore the duality of sustainability and culture and what it looks like to build a world that will last for a lifetime and beyond. And when it comes to design, I'd say that I'm very connected to my surroundings. And sometimes it's hard for me to express myself and like design something that I think shows what I have on the inside. So Curtis will do that. He'll like take pictures of things that I like. He'll be like, I really think you're gonna like this. And sometimes I don't know if I'll like it, like the tomato colored arch that we have. But once it's done, I'm like, okay, I like it. So I get a little bit of a push.
She has to see it to believe it.
I do have to see it to believe it.
But that's okay. I got like a 99% shooting average. So
Pretty much. I mean, 99%, 99.9 like percent shooting average. So
it typically works out.
It works out. Yeah.
And we have a few entrepreneurial endeavors that have happened
Absolutely.
in between. So we are very used to startup and entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yeah, which is why our space is even more important to us, because the pandemic is where we really started working from our home, but we also work here together today. So even post-pandemic, we still work from home and we support our clients from here. So, if I'm in the bedroom or Curtis is at the desk or at the front table, like we're literally everywhere just working.
Yeah. I think something I would add to that too that is really important is that during the pandemic, although it's like a time that's really like heavy and something that we were all globally experiencing together, it was the moment that we realized that a lot of times as renters, growing up, you're kind of told that you don't want to invest a lot into your space because you're renting it and you don't own it. And because we were here in the pandemic and we were just sitting around looking at each other in like 700 square feet for almost 3 years, right?
Yeah, long time.
Like we started to understand the gravity in curating a space that inspired you to be you, but also to see the optimism in the world. Oftentimes when it feels so dark and heavy. And this was our little slice of like how to show possibility. And like Danielle said, we always say if we write a book, the book will be If You Want to Find Love, Build a Home Together. And that's what we did. All right, guys. So we are now coming into our living room, which is one of our favorite places in the home. It's kind of like the living room / dining room / office area space, but we'll get into that. But before we get into that, we have a very special piece behind us this way. Okay, so when we first started our art collection, we really didn't know that much about collecting at all. But our collection started because we got incredible gifts from friends who actually were the reason that our art collection started. And this is another piece that's a part of that story. This is a piece by a Chicago-based contemporary artist by the name of Nico Washington, who is actually one of our favorite contemporary artists right now. We have this piece and we have another Nico Washington. But this piece is really special because our friend Adrian Octavius Walker, another artist, gifted it to us as a wedding gift.
Yeah.
So this is the first thing that we got even before we got married.
And it looks like us, but it's actually not us.
All right, so now we've told you about our Nico Washington. And now we got another really, really special part in here that's a new addition. Nobody's really ever seen this, but you guys. Come take a look. Okay, so in this area, guys, we have this incredible, incredible wallpaper, which was actually a recent collaboration that we had with Auto Studio. And this is a wallpaper that's called There Was a Country. And it's by an artist by the name of Uzo. And it is just so beautiful, and it reminds us of like family reunion. When we had this space, we knew we wanted a statement wall, but we didn't quite know what it was going to be. And we went back and forth about colors for a really long time. If you guys haven't noticed by now, green is our favorite color. So green is a constant theme in the house, and green is good for prosperity. So when we see this wallpaper, it just makes us so happy. And there are little anecdotes throughout, and in these thought bubbles, you'll see like soft life, movement of the people. Like it just felt very, very like us. And what we love about Uzo's work is that she actually merges like contemporary Black life and like African diaspora across spectrum to like this really, really special place that makes it modern, and it makes it feel like a shared experience between like all of us being Black Americans. So this is like one of our like proudest moments. And me and Danielle's little brother Michael actually put this up ourselves. It was a little bit of a task, but because we do everything renter friendly, it's also removable. So if you guys are looking for some great removable wallpaper, Auto Studios, There Was a Country. And I surprised Danielle with it when she was gone for a work trip. Were you surprised?
I was. I literally walked in and was like, what? Weren't we doing this together? What? This looks beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah. And this is like our little work from home nook. And now Danielle has like the best work from home
Background. Zoom certified.
Yeah. We surveyed it.
My absolute favorite piece in our home is actually this desk.
In the whole home?
In the whole home.
Guys. Okay. In the whole home. Okay. Tell us about it.
That's because Curtis is always like, Danielle, like, I think that we could take the desk out. We could swap it. I'm always fighting for the desk. But when our home was completely empty, before we even got another beautiful piece, like our dining room table we'll talk about later, this piece was here. And this was during the pandemic. We purchased it, and I had nowhere to work. Surfaces were very limited, and I needed somewhere to set up my laptop and work. So when we got the desk, it was amazing. It's kind of slender, and not something that's super big. So we've had it here. It's one on the other side of our apartment, in the living room on the other side of the room. And it kind of serves as multiple purposes. We will turn it into a bar when we're hosting. We'll use it as just like a way to display our books, or of course in order to actually work. So it's definitely one of my favorite pieces, and I think it's just the details in the burl wood that makes it feel extra special. So what's on top of our desk is probably almost just as important as what's on with the actual desk. But this is an extension of our library. So throughout our entire living room, you'll see that we have a lot of books that are focused on things from photography, inspiration, floral design. Some of our favorites include A24, absolutely the new Black Vanguard, and then just vases or vessels that we use to fill with floral. And then we usually almost always have a candle here in order to just like make it feel moody and kind of warm and cozy, because this is more of a nook area of our apartment. So yeah.
And I think that what's also really important for us, so coffee table books are really important to our story because they were some of the first things we could afford when we got into the space, and we were like, oh, we want to start like designing and like what does that look like? And we can't buy a $2,000 table. But, coffee table books are one of those things that are extremely accessible, and that people can get from either their local bookstore. We like to buy local when we can.
Yeah.
Or, to support artists when their monograms come out. Some of the ones that are new as well that I really love is like this Young, Gifted, and Black. Also, I Can Make You Feel Good by Tyler Mitchell. If you guys don't know, Feeling Seen by Campbell Addy. Nadine, Anything by Nadine. Our Own Selves. We love Nadine in this household. So yeah, like our coffee table books are like a warm hug. And we always encourage people who come over, like, yes, although it looks museum like, please grab it, crack it open, read it, stay a while. That's what the candle's here for. So we have that. And then before we move on, over here in this corner, this right here is our lucky Mr. Fish. As we said, we have a lot of like whimsical character moments. So I actually found this at the Lincoln Antique Mall here in town, which is a very historical antique store. And when I saw it, I just knew I had to have it. And I remember FaceTiming Danielle, and I'm like, oh my God, I found this little bitty side table, and it's a fish. And she was just like, okay. And I showed it to her. She's like, I love it. And it's just like the perfect Peter Pan-esque whimsical moment to like tie in the home. On top of it as well, by the way, we have Black Archives, which is also by another friend of ours, Renata Charlize, who I also got the opportunity to interview before for a story that I was writing. And this is their first book that came out for Black Archives. So we love this. This is new. And then this piece right here was done by our friend Ken Dacey, who we also love, which is 101 Black Women to Read Before You Die. And so it has all these little pictorial stories of like Black women throughout history who've written books that we just love. You got Bell Hooks, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde, Alice Walker, and the list goes on and on. But it's just such a charming piece. And like, it feels like something that will go in like our future kids' room.
Yeah,
Like a
definitely.
nursery.
I mean, with the crayons and like the raisins, absolutely. And I think it's just inspiring for little women.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Okay, let's show you the rest of the living room. How we've decorated the space is it's been a natural evolution and progression. Hence the white couch. The white couch I like to use as a benchmark because it's kind of where we started. It's also where Danielle's style and my style started to converge. I would say when we first approached our home and styling, we definitely were going more neutral.
Yeah.
What was like trendy, what a lot of people were doing,
Like
the
mid-century
taupes.
modern.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
but it was still very like blank slate. It felt like a showroom.
Yeah.
And then as we went into the process more, we just wanted something that felt like lived in and something that felt sourced and nuanced. And as Danielle said before, I'm a color guy, if you can't tell by my Willy Wonka inspired frames. So like from there, we just merged the balance of like color and neutrality, and we landed on like maximalism.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you'll see throughout this space, little like caricatures, things from our trips, our travels abroad that you'll see. And all of our designs are meant to be renter friendly because we are renting our apartment here. So we wanted it to feel like forever, meaning like we design for where we are, but also we can remove it so our landlord doesn't make us pay the price.
Yeah, that's important, folks. All right, now we're going to show you the rest of the living room. Ta-da! We were already here, but this is the other side. The other side of the magic.
I'd love to tell you guys about our sofa. This is our 6-penny sofa and it's white. So it's definitely a conversation piece and the most clean thing in our entire home. Everything else is printed, colored, bold, and this is the one thing that's actually just all white. So the sofa is from 6-penny, as I mentioned, and the actual top pillows, like these two in the corner, are from Restoration Hardware with Etsy slip covers. We wanted a sofa that felt deep and cozy, that felt like it was inviting, but we didn't realize the color would kind of deter our guests from sitting here. So we always have to tell them, like, please come sit. But the actual piping along the edges is one of the details that stood out the most to us. And the fact that we can actually swap the cover for any other colors that Sixpenny actually offers. So if we want to do a dark orange or a burgundy or a blue, we can swap it out, and it's easy to clean. So we just take it off and take it to the dry cleaners and bring it back whenever we feel like we need to. So definitely one of my favorites, super cozy, and I love her.
Yeah. I think the other thing in here too, like in this room, is obviously this is the most focal point of the space. When you first come in, this is what you're greeted with visually. We wanted to have artwork here that really just started a conversation. Obviously, when our collection started, like we talked about earlier, it started from gifting. So these top pieces here are from our friend Shayna McCoy, which we like to call the twins. They're untitled, but Shayna gifted us these patches, and we went and got them framed here locally at Frame Chicago. And we just thought they felt like preschool, but also, again, we do a lot of elements that are like, yo, this would be tight in the future kids room. So we say that a lot, but I think that that's important because we want our children to be raised around art and for it not to be something that isn't always been a part of who they are. And then this is also a Shayna McCoy piece. This is an original, one of one, just for us. And we call this one Baby Girl.
Yes.
She's so cute. She's so petite. We also plan on getting her framed, but she's on this really beautiful gray velvet texture. This one in the corner is Loose Ties by our brother and friend, Adrian Octavius Walker. I actually curated this exhibition in 2 spaces, actually 3. I've helped him do this in 3 spaces now, in Oakland, Columbia, Missouri, and here locally in Chicago. So this is our art wall. We got Ame Leon Dore, and then this piece right here is a piece by another one of our friends, Sean Brown. This was shot in Miami, and we just love it. It reminds us of like Black love and just what it feels like to still feel like young.
Right below our art wall, this is, I would say it's kind of like, we use it for storage, but originally it's actually a dresser from CB2. And we actually got it from the outlet. So if you're looking for a sustainable way to shop or even ways to kind of get some really good discounts, we like to shop at the outlet stores. And it'll come with like a little bit of wear and tear, but nothing that you can't fix at home. And it's just beautiful. So it has a leather front, dark wood throughout. And then we also topped it with these 2 twin lamps here that we found that are just stunning. I'll let Curtis tell you more about those. And then along the top of this surface, as I mentioned, surfaces are so important to us. We go through and we style this for the season. So it might be Christmas, which is coming up, Curtis' favorite holiday. We'll deck it out with snow, add a few different reindeer, and then it feels like it's just a whole new environment. And then also you'll notice some like antique pieces, some of our favorite bookends from Hay, and then also another Sean Brown piece. So this is Sean Brown's like mirrored coffee like coasters, and they're mirrors. I won't show you the camera, but they're mirrored and it has curves on them. So super cute. They look like spills, like little water spills.
These lamps are from Jocelyn, Maine, so we wanted it to feel really symmetrical in order to bring the eye in around the artwork. And then the last thing that I would say is these 2 African statues over there are also like heirlooms from Danielle's family. When their family was moving out of their childhood home, we asked to keep those from her parents. And just a way to kind of keep her family and her lineage a part of our home as it's ever growing is really important to us. So we like to give homage to them, and they make their own little appearance.
All right, so lighting is really important to us. We have lamps everywhere, but there's no central light in here. So when you look at this little guy here, it looks like a mushroom, but it's actually a lamp. So it's a lamp from Hay. If you tap on the bottom, it'll actually light up. it has to be charged. That's like one of the downsides of like all of our rechargeable, renter friendly things, is you have to charge them. But this is a little lamp. It's so cute, and like it just feels kind of fun. And I don't know, I think like this adds a pop of color to our space and probably inspired the red arch that we have.
So how I would describe our personal style in our home is in the process of us trying to like figure out what category, because when we were looking for inspiration for things, we were like, well, what is our style? Like, it's kind of not really mid-century. It's kind of not like just all
Is it
antique.
Scandinavian?
Is it Scandinavian?
Are we modern?
And then when we finally landed and found like maximalism, we were like, okay, this feels like us. Probably not as eclectic as like maximalism could go.
Even though people say that, they say we're eclectic.
But I think what we also found is the importance of like having a desire to like preserve art and to move into the space as like collectors. And what does it look like for your home to be a space that holds things, that preserves history and like story and like narrative and folklore. And so for us, I think that maximalism a lot of times doesn't feel like it invites like the Black experience into that lens. And so we want to be an example of that, of like, what does your home look like that is lived in, that feels like relics of your life collected? That's not like hoarding, but you know, is well placed and everything has a story and a narrative, and how that pairs with the art collection that we're building. So I think that that's how I would kind of describe. Would you add anything, babe?
I would emphasize culture when I think about our definition of design. Being a Black couple, we already have our own sense of culture that comes with our race and our ethnicity and the history of who we are. But we also really do focus on like what that culture looks like today in modern day. And I think like when we can both think about our grandmother's homes, we see a lot of similarities in, I would say, like the beauty and the details of small items. So we really like smalls. And you were talking about this when we went to the store the other day. Can you talk about what smalls mean?
Yeah, so smalls are like those knickknacks that you would probably always see that your aunt or your grandma will have. But now we've come up with a very contemporary term. These are what the girls are saying on TikTok. They're calling it smalls nowadays, fellas. So, for example, like this could be considered a small. It's a beautiful textured branch nest situation where it can inset a candle or your keys or just like random things. But we love stuff like this. So
Yeah.
these are our smalls. So now let's go into our dining room or our like dining area, depending on like who it is that's like talking about it. But we like to say our dining room. So this art piece is done by a contemporary artist in St. Louis, where my hometown is. His name is Von Davis, and this piece is called Tangible. It's really, really beautiful to us because for the longest time, we were saying like we want a textile in the home.
Yeah.
But what is it gonna look like? What is it gonna be? And then we found this painting. So Vaughn considers his pieces paintings. And it's like this really beautiful like ballet between like life of being like distressed but also still really beautiful even through everything that life puts you through. So we love Tangible. She's that girl. Vaughn loaned it to us. He was so kind to do that. So yeah, we love this. And babe, what about the wall?
All right, so this was probably one of the first areas we took seriously when painting, and we added Portola paint. So we have it in a few different places, but here is definitely where you see it the most. It's the most pronounced, and the color is nitty gritty. So Portola paint actually feels like clay, and this actual paint is Roman clay. So sometimes you'll see this texture created using lime wash or Roman clay. And for us, we use Roman clay that will like scrape along the walls in order to get this like distressed, almost velvety texture. And it feels beautiful and looks amazing. And then we layered on more wainscoting here and a little bit of a thinner pattern with two skinny ones on the side and a wider one in the center. And I don't know if I mentioned this when we were in our actual study, but our wainscoting is removable, 100% removable, and we've actually adhered it using double-sided tape. So I think we picked it up from Home Depot and found an amazing video on TikTok or Instagram that showed us how to do this. So we get the look without paying the price. And also on this wall, we have our removable sconces that we picked up from Amazon. So you'll see a lot of Amazon finds here, but honestly, it's just a wonderful marketplace to find things that will arrive quickly and also are just kind of viral at the moment, and you can make your own. So these sconces are not actually hardwired. We cut the wire and adhered them using just the screws on the side. But the actual light source, similar to the other areas in our home, are puck lights. So battery operated puck lights that we can use we can turn on with remotes. And when we're trying to set the mood, we turn the lights down, our main light down, and then we add our puck lights. So we get a little bit of a different vibe depending on the time of day.
And outside of that, again, back to small source things that just feel like very special. To this centerpiece, these are two of our favorite things that we've gotten from a local store here, which is our absolute favorite. And it's like our secret, but we're going to share it with you guys. It's called Jason Home. They also have online shopping, but you didn't hear that from me. We got this beautiful wood stand. When we saw it, we just knew we had to have it. We didn't quite know what it was going to be for, but we knew that it was going to be for us. So we really like this because it feels organic and it feels like sort of ornate to be able to make this table feel more grand. And we've paired it also from Jason Home with these two shells. It sort of mirrored like the organic nature of what they would look like and they were actually in the ocean. And we use them to actually like hold as vessels for fresh fruit and veggies and things like that on this rounded table. So this table functions as our dining room table. And usually when we eat, I know what you guys are thinking. Where do you actually eat at? We take them off. So this is like to make it look all special and pretty. So probably like 80% of the time it looks like this, and the other 20% we're eating on it. So yeah, we love this. And the chair that's right here was a steal. Yeah. I think this beautiful chair that we got from Crate and Barrel Outlet, maybe for like $70.
Yeah, it was really low.
It was a steal.
It's sturdy, very, very heavy, and has this beautiful upholstery.
Yeah, we couldn't say no. So yeah, this is our beautiful dining room. I would say what I love most about the home is because it is such a quaint space, and because there is two of us, I like that we designed it in a way that has a very like open floor plan. We really, really like hosting. Even though our apartment is smaller, we always love to have it filled with people. And so being able to orient the furniture in a way that allows us to be able to do that. I love how the dining room and the kitchen flow into the living room. And so although we don't have like a lot of walls that like separate rooms and make them very defined, I feel like it feels a lot like us. Like we like adventure. We don't like to follow like a lot of rules. We kind of want to make up our own flow. So I feel like our home is like a really good representation of that.
Yes. Okay. I would say my favorite aspect of our home would be a room, and it's probably the underdog, but it's our bedroom. So our bedroom, it feels like its own sort of oasis. It feels like a break from the entire design of the rest of our home. And honestly, like after a spa-like experience in our shower, our bathroom, and then transcending into our bedroom after like a long week or just like a self-care Sunday, I feel like that type of experience is just like really maximized by the design of our bedroom, from the actual like bedding that we have, to the drapes that are in the room and our armoire. It feels, also the shelves at the top, those are also beautiful. So yeah, it's probably my favorite room to watch TV in as well. I think it's yours too.
It's not. My favorite room to watch TV is out here with the surround sound.
It's become his favorite.
Nice.
He likes to watch it with me, and so he watches it in there.
Right, because she likes to go to sleep early. But I personally like the surround sound. All right, so we are obviously going to talk about the elephant in the room, which was also our first concern when we saw the apartment. which was that there's no space in the kitchen for the fridge, which is why it's sitting conveniently in the dining room. But that's okay, because we love our kitchen as it is, and our kitchen has a beautiful story as well. It's perfect for two, so we get to be nice and cozy at home when we're cooking our favorite meals, and we're sharing the space. So here in the kitchen, I guess we would start by talking about the tile. So again, we're gonna keep saying renter friendly, folks, because we rent. But this tile is tile that we sourced off of Etsy. Etsy has been a great place for us to be able to find bespoke, one-of-a-kind pieces. We really wanted a statement wall in the kitchen because we don't have natural light and we don't have a window. We wanted to bring some of those nice bright colors, bold colors into the space to invite you in. And so this tile we found in the Etsy shop and we just knew we had to have it. It's actually glass, but they're removable. And they remind us of our travels in Italy where we went to celebrate my 30th birthday. And it reminds us of Positano and
all
Capri,
the Amalfi Coast.
Amalfi Coast, all of those beautiful adventures. So we love that. And then this picture by Carla Rudd as well just makes us feel like it's daytime, even at night.
What do I love in the kitchen? I would say our open cabinet here. So you can see it when you're standing here closer, but really what we did was we removed the cabinet doors from one of our, the cabinet above our sink, and that was to expose the actual dishes that are within the cabinet. So we wanted to see inside, which was a way that felt like it made it a little bigger here, and it's easier for us to grab our plates. But dishware and cups and glasses are definitely like one of our love languages. I feel like we can't go into any store without like picking up a new set of plates, a new glass. So we swap out our glasses depending on like the season or what we're going for. We've gone through several rounds of revisions where we're trying to figure out the best way to display everything. But right now we just added in our favorite black plates, some eggshell blue plates that have like irregular, I'll even show you, have like irregular shapes and patterns throughout. So it just makes eating breakfast like that much better when you have like a really nice plate, like even if it's just eggs and bacon. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So the art of plating we found is really, really important. And yeah, like Danielle said, it's just the other things that make such a small kitchen like really matter, which is like we have our little herb. Occasionally we'll have a little herb garden going. This one right now is mint. And then, yeah, we have the other smalls that we have. We'll have like whatever cookbook at the time that we're really loving. We'll have there. We got our knives displayed. And then, of course, we just have to have like our favorite hand soaps, lotions, all that, because your hands get really dry. And yeah, and we love to just throw a nice little fresh flower moment.
Like, aren't they so cute?
Yeah.
They're little bulbs.
Yeah, we like it. Oh my God, who's the chef in the house, babe?
Oh my goodness, it's me. No, I'm just kidding. It's Curtis. Curtis is really the chef in the house. Honestly, whenever our friends come over, I'm like, Curtis is cooking, so they come with a even bigger appetite than they normally would. But one of my favorite dishes that Curtis makes is, it's smothered chicken. I was split between two, but it's smothered chicken with gravy. And honestly, when he first told me about it, I was like, it sounds a little like Southern for me. I don't know.
Brown gravy.
It's brown gravy.
Okay, yeah.
With mushrooms and onions and chicken, and we usually make homemade mashed potatoes. He makes mashed potatoes.
And she enjoys them. So we've talked about the things that we love for entertaining. We talked about the places that fill our belly. What about where we lay our head?
Let's go to my favorite room, the bedroom.
If I had a tip for living in a small space and wanting to design it, it is to not view it as an obstacle, but as possibilities. I think that a lot of times we approach design almost as if it's not an equation to solve, but it is. Like every space, every room is its own equation, which means it comes with its own factors and reasoning, and you just have to keep that in mind. And just usability, like your home has to be something that you have to be able to utilize, and in a smaller space, that means that everything has to matter that you do, and every decision has to make sense. So yeah, look for possibilities, not challenges.
What would be my greatest tip for someone living in a small space? I would say to optimize organization. And when I find the best tips, I just save them like on TikTok. Like I have like a bunch of things saved. So I would say the Container Store is absolute favorite when you're trying to figure out best ways to solve for design organization. And maximizing those like small spaces, build up where you can, and also utilize like under the bed storage. Lots of matching organization makes it feel a little bit nicer and cleaner. So I would say, yeah, that would be my tip.
All right, and we've made it to where the magic happens. That's the like old MTV Cribs line. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is like our version of MTV Cribs right now. Okay, so this is our bedroom. As Danielle said, it's her favorite place in the house. And it is literally a breath of fresh air. So the wall treatment that we have in here, this is Roman clay as well, as we talked about before, but instead this one is in the color Figueroa. We're telling you the colors. Don't go do your home in the same exact colors as us, but we love Figueroa and Roman clay. And then this piece is the other piece that we talked about from Dico Washington, which is entitled Starboy, which we just love. It is such a statement for us to like walk into and to be greeted with. And we often leave our door open so that other people who are coming can also see this as well. So we kind of like treat our home like a little bit of like a art museum.
Mm-hmm. We're keepers of art.
Yeah, preservers of the stories and the people. Babe, why don't you tell them about your gorgeous vanity?
Okay, so Curtis says it that way because I wanted a vanity so bad. I do my makeup, and if you know, you know. The girls that get it. You need a big surface to do your makeup, and our bathroom is kind of small. So we were searching high and low for a vanity that didn't look like it was like cookie cutter, that still felt like it fit the vibe of our home. And we found this desk. So it's actually an antique from First Dibs, and it's also from Mexico. And it serves as our vanity, also kind of like a bedside table. And we partnered it with this little stool. It's like an African stool that I can sit on. It's a little lower to the ground, but it feels kind of intimate and easy to get the job done.
So the wardrobe behind us, when we thought about what are the colors and the textures of what we wanted, we knew we needed additional space, as Danielle mentioned before, yes. When you have a smaller space. And so we got this wardrobe that we liked the archway and how it kind of brought in the archway from the kitchen transition to the dining room. And how could we bring that into the home to kind of bring some harmony. We like also the rattan and the craning that's happening here. And it just fit. It was like a perfect fit in between our his and her closets. It just like all made sense. So it is a little bit lighter of a wood than we wanted. We really like this rich wood color, so we have thought about staining it. But overall, shape and just convenience wise, we love it.
So the mindset and inspiration behind this room was definitely for it to feel like an oasis. Sometimes it's compared to a Tulum or Scandinavian design, but we really just wanted to feel like a break from the rest of our home. So when you step in here, it's soothing, it's a little bit more moody, and just kind of prepares you for the main purpose of the room, which is to rest. So we definitely wanted to feel calm and soothing.
It's giving luxury hotel vibes, but at home, 24/7.
Yes.
You know, a little vacay.
Vacay at home.
At home. The bedding, when I first got with Danielle and she started telling me about how the girls were making their beds and all of that, fellas, I never knew beds were made like this. All of these like big pillows and the layering, there's literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 7 pillows on this bed. That's a lot of pillows. But presentation wise, I get it now. So when she says the girls who get it, not the guys who get it. And I love this. So I can't go back. This is like forever our presentation style. This lampshade cover we actually got again from Etsy. Again, like we said, We love an Etsy find. This we just got because it again gave us that like tropical like vacation vibe that we were looking for. The shelves above it also are from Etsy that we got custom for our space. We saw it in like Travel Inspo in Morocco, and we just knew that we wanted it. And we have these pre-loved vessels that sit atop it that give us this really nice like balanced wasabi feel that we really love. And then down here we have our tartan table slab that we love for Danielle to be able to put all of her nightly goodies on. And then also we have this beautiful lamp that we got from Gantry that is actually made from like sustainable material. So, you know, we got to keep a little eco in the house. And then my favorite thing, the remote always sits on my side, but right now it's on Danielle's side because, as she said, I'm the TV person. So, yes, the room is also one of my favorite places to watch TV. But yeah, this is our bedroom, and we love it. The word home means to me a feeling of somewhere that makes you feel safe, somewhere that makes you feel like there's still so much more life ahead of you than behind you, and like a reminder of like the best parts and the best reasons of like why we live. You know, I think for me this is, you know, a little bit more personal, but when I lost my mom to cancer in 2014, I really grappled with the idea of like what home meant. And I think that as I grew up and became an adult, I had to understand what that meant. And so now building a home with my wife and understanding that this has become our little safe place and our space of holding memories and the best parts of what life has given us. I think that that's what home means to me.
In all honesty, what home means to me is honestly where Curtis is. So I feel like we both kind of mirror in that way. I think the reason that is because we have grown like such a dynamic life together through university, through the pandemic, and living here and then building a home together. So a lot of what we've learned and how we've grown up together lives in each other. And also when I was growing up, so I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, home was, you know, this beautiful house. So like it kind of felt like the American dream in some ways. But then we ended up losing our home during the pandemic, and that piece of me was no longer there. It was more just memories, no place to return to. So instead of having home tied to a physical like building, I think having it tied to our partnership and like the places that we go feels more long-term and a little bit warmer. So yeah, I'd say that.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Alex and welcome to my Winnetka, Illinois home. Let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex Kaler from Alexandra Kaler Design, and we are in my living room at my home in Winnetka, which is just north of Chicago. We have been in our house for about 6 years now. We bought it when I was pregnant with my second child, and it was one of 2 houses that we looked at in the area, and we really fell in love with it because of the backyard. And just the general footprint of the house. It felt spacious, but it didn't feel overwhelming. But that was about it. There wasn't a whole lot that was redeeming about the interior. And so we came in and we completely gutted the house. We took out every wall, window, door, floor, and we just reconfigured it. So we didn't add on at all. But we moved the living room to the other end of the house. We made the family room closer to the kitchen. We just wanted it to be really conducive to the way that we live and entertain. And the other thing that was sort of lacking from the house was that there wasn't a lot of character. It was built in the late 50s, and it was trying to be sort of a traditional home, but there just wasn't really that element that we were looking for. In my dreams, we were gonna buy this like pre-war house with beautiful moldings, and this did not have any of that. And so we put in character in places where we felt like we could, and where it made sense. We added some applied pencil moldings, we added crown and base, we put herringbone wood floors into the foyer, and we tried to just add a little bit of architectural interest throughout the house. We didn't want to overdo it, but the idea was that we were going to just add some personality and character. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful house for us. We have 3 kids now. We have a very, very naughty puppy. So there's a lot going on here, and the house just lives so easily for us. This is the entry of our home. It's not huge, but it feels gracious enough. And when we moved in, there was this really outdated slate floor that we replaced with the wide plank white oak herringbone for some visual interest. And then I really wanted a spot where you could comfortably sit down and take off your shoes. We live in Chicago, so everyone's got like muddy boots and coats. So we've got this small fireside bench here, and then these little green elephants were sort of a happy mistake when I'm buying for my clients. I'm so meticulous about measuring, but for myself, I am not always so careful. And so I bought these thinking they'd be great side tables in my living room, and it turns out they're these little tiny stools. So I put them here, and they're not all that functional, but they're very cute, and they're my favorite color. And then we've got a vintage rug that just is durable and can withstand all of the Chicago climate that's going on. And then if you come this way, we added these pencil moldings to the walls for some interest, and again, to sort of like give it a little bit of a more traditional, older feel. When we bought the house, you entered into my husband's office here, which did not work for us because it just was too open to everything. So we closed this off. And I had a beautiful Biedermeier chest in the house I grew up in, and I always loved it. And so I found this at auction. It was the very first thing we bought when we bought this house, and I just knew that it would find a house somewhere. I wasn't exactly sure where, but I love that it's here and I see it every day. So this was made by an artist who's also a friend of mine, Elliot Bergman, and it's solid brass, and it's actually meant to be a bell, so you can hit it and it makes beautiful noise. It obviously functions as a bowl as well, and it's just a really special piece to us. The art over here was a wedding gift, and I just like that everything here holds some meaning to me. And it's also, when we entertain, a great spot for us to set up a bar and use for functionality too. So if you come this way, this is our powder room. Also, used by my kids. So we've got a step stool tucked underneath the sink, and some Italian Murano sconces that I got from First Dibs, and just a collection of meaningful art. Coming through here, when I was a child, my grandmother made silhouettes of me and my sisters and cousins, and so that was something I really wanted to do for my kids and just have as an heirloom. So I had these done for each of them recently, and it just holds a very special spot for me. I would say that my style in our home is rooted in traditional design, and it just has sort of a fresh take on it. I used to say that I wanted it to feel like it was maybe a little like a drunk grandma had decorated it, like there was some really traditional pieces that you might have found in your grandparents' home, but then a piece where you're like, oh, that's kind of, I wouldn't have put that there. And I think that was sort of my general direction with the whole house. This is our living room. When we bought the house, this was a very dark wood-paneled family room, and not the good kind of wood-paneled. It was like the 60s falling apart wood-paneled, with a big river rock fireplace. So we started over. We decided this was the spot that we were going to have our formal living room. It's a little bit removed from the kitchen, which I really liked. This was the main piece that I knew I would use in here before I started any design work. This is a portrait of my grandmother, and it was done in the 40s. An artist wanted to set her up with his son, and she wasn't interested, and so he offered to paint her and have her come into his studio so he could introduce the two of them. They did not end up getting together, but we got this beautiful family heirloom, and it was just something that I knew I always wanted to hang in my house someday. Over here, underneath the painting, is a collection of black and white boxes. So I started this collection years ago. And whenever I find something that I think is special and different than the pieces that I already have, I'll add them to the collection. And there's really no rhyme or reason to where they are. My kids tend to play here and hide all sorts of things. Yes, they hide a ponytail holder and all these fun things in the boxes. A few of them have gotten broken over the years, but I'm a big believer in living in the house and letting my kids enjoy it and not being scared. And unfortunately, that just means things get broken sometimes. So this is the growing, but also sometimes not growing collection of black and white boxes. If you come over this way, one thing that I knew once I landed on a color scheme for this room is that I really wanted to include artwork that was done by my sister. So she is an artist based in Brooklyn, and her work is all pointillism with pen and ink. And so it's incredibly time consuming, and she is so meticulous. And so these pieces here are done by her. They're originals that are all ink. And if you really zoom in closely, you can see that all the gradation is done with dots. So those are really, really special. There's flanking either side of the sofa. And then sort of the jumping off point for the color palette of this room was the sofa fabric. So this was the fabric that was in my grandparents' house growing up in their family room, and I just had such a nostalgia around it. And I know it could lean very formal and traditional, and so I liked the idea of combining it with my sister's art and having it still feel fresh and new, but meaningful to me. And then I just wanted this to be a really comfy spot for us to gather. So when we've got a small group, we can be over here, and we actually use the day bed a ton. And what's really nice about the day bed is that when we've got a larger group, people can sit there and they can interact with the people sitting here, but they also can interact with the people sitting in these chairs over by the fireplace. So it makes the room really multifunctional depending on how many people we have that we're entertaining. When it's just my husband and I, we are always in those green chairs by the fireplace all winter long. That's our spot. And when the kids come in, obviously they're everywhere, climbing over everything. But around the holidays, this is where we spend all of our time. And whenever we're entertaining and the weather is not particularly nice, this is where we're at. We've got our screen and porch. In Chicago, the season for a room like this is kind of short. So what we've done is we've added heaters so that we can extend the life of when we use this space a little bit more. And we do just about everything here. We have dinner with the kids out here. We hang out and read out here, have coffee in the morning. We're big entertainers. And so this is sort of a staging area for the pool. We keep all the pool toys and towels. So if you come on out, unfortunately it's a rainy day, but it's still a really great spot to listen to the rain. And actually, that's one of the times when we use this the most, is when it's not so nice outside. We got a really fancy kegerator and filled it with rosé, which has been a really fun addition to our summer entertaining. Maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing, but really fun to have. So it's right here, and you just take a little glass and pour yourself some rosé. Cheers. It's like my version of a frat house. So that's been really fun and a big hit. And we just wanted this room to be functional and comfy, and we love it out here. We've got a fan for when it's super hot. We've got the heaters for when it's chilly, and we try to extend the life of this space as much as possible. So this is our dining room. This actually used to be the formal living room, and it went a few feet more that way, a few feet more behind me. It was this big, big formal room. So we chopped it up a little bit and made this our dining room. It tends to be a little bit darker because it's just northern exposure. So we lacquered the ceiling to reflect some light and just sort of like brighten up the room a little bit. So sort of lending itself to that garden feel that I keep talking about that I really wanted in this house is this Arbor de Matisse paper. It was offered in a lime green, but I really wanted something a little bit mossier, a little bit more natural. And so we custom did this wallpaper with them using Benjamin Moore's Alligator Alley as the ground. And then we wanted to add some architectural interest to the room. And so we kept the light fixture really simple. And then we've got our dining room table is actually a gift from my mother-in-law that I had always loved. It's covered today by a tablecloth just to make it feel a little bit more summery in here. I saw this pattern from the Avenue and just fell in love with the color palette in this room. So we've got this. And then adding that architectural interest were these two doors here. So this one leads into our butler's pantry and bar. And then this one is what I call my prop closet. So when I'm entertaining and I need vases or candle holders, we've got everything stored here. And it's a little bit of a mess. There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to where things are. But I've got a huge collection of bud vases and votives that I use constantly when I'm entertaining. I just found like these guys on Amazon and they're great. It's like been using them nonstop. And then just a collection of things that I found over the years. I have some teacups that my grandmother gave my daughter, and it's just sort of a random smattering of things, but it gives me a great base for when I'm entertaining and want to set a fun table. I've got my own collection of things I can pull from. So here is where we store most of our china. We have the set that we got as a wedding gift, which is really special, but it's very formal. And so we use that occasionally. And then recently, my grandmother gave us her hunting china, and I just love it. It's not something I necessarily would have chosen myself, but the color palette in this room is beautiful. I loved the nod to the outdoors, and I love the whimsy of it. So that's been a really special addition for us when entertaining. So walking through the swinging door here takes us to our pantry. Our kitchen doesn't have a ton of cabinet space, and so this is very much an extension of our kitchen. It's an entertaining area, it's our bar. We have a dishwasher, we have a wine fridge, we have a beverage fridge, a dog bed, really so beautiful in here. And then this is where I store my glasses and my plates, and all the things that I collect, and I can show you some of those things as well. So here are some of our glasses, a lot of different colors and pieces that I have found over the years, and gifts that we got as for our wedding. And then we've got food storage. So this is where all of the food is, all of our dry goods. And then the not so pretty stuff, our air fryer and coffee maker also live here. We've got a sink, some more glasses, things that belong to some of my grandparents and my parents. And then coming this way, this is where our bar lives, is inside of this cabinet. So when we entertain, we can bring it all out onto the counter, but when we're not, we can put it away. And then over here are our plates. And this is just one of those things that I love to buy and I don't always have so much of a use for. But at least I've got a dedicated spot for it for when we do use it. And there's, lots of fun patterns and colors and things that maybe we're not using on an everyday basis, but that I love to have. So, this has got beautiful colors, and when we do have an occasion to use it, I love the way it looks in our dining room with the pink and green. So aside from the green lacquer in here, or the green high gloss, I should say, is the marble wallpaper on the ceiling. And this was an opportunity to just add color and interest, and a lot of personality, and make this a jewel box of a space. So having a house that feels lived in and cozy and welcoming is like my number one priority, not only for myself, but also for my clients. I feel like a pretty room can only go so far if you don't feel like you want to plop down in a chair and hang out and spend time. And so a lot of thought goes into the colors that we use. Like in here, there's this chalky, sort of muddy green, and this room is all open to the backyard. And so you just feel like you're sort of a part of the garden when you're in here, which is very much what I wanted from the whole first floor, was for the house to sort of live like this indoor-outdoor experience. We don't have very tall ceilings, they're just 8 feet, and so our windows go almost all the way down to the floor. And that gives the illusion of a little bit more height, but it also like really welcomes you into the outside, which I love. And so as I was making color choices and textile choices, I was really trying to think about that concept of bringing the outside inside and making everything really comfy and easy. So like even this room that I'm in right now, even though it's our formal living room, it's still a space that my kids hang out in. Like my sofa is floral chintz, which means like it hides a lot of stains. And the jute rug is really soft, and so we can get down on the floor and do puzzles. And we really spend a lot of time in this room, even though it's technically a more formal space than like our family room is. And I try to really come at my clients' houses with a similar perspective, because I feel like that's how everyone wants to live for the most part, at least in our generation. I know it's how I want to live. I want my kids to be able to come into every room and not be afraid to touch things. This is our kitchen. This space used to be quite a bit smaller and much more closed off. So we did open it up a little bit just to allow some light to come in. My husband felt very, very strongly about wanting a white kitchen. It was one of his only design requests, so I made sure to honor that. And we have the ledge where I can display some things. This here is a oil painting of the South Shore of Nantucket, which is a really meaningful place to us, that I bought at auction. And so I like having those elements in the kitchen that maybe don't feel so kitcheny, make it a little bit cozier. And this is really just a utility space. You know, it's functional, it's open, it's clean, it's bright. And then we wallpapered it in this green grass cloth to add some warmth, and to make sure that all the white didn't feel quite so stark. So if we're coming this way, we've got our gigantic dog crate and our badly behaved puppy, and then we've got our breakfast nook. And so this is where we eat a lot of our meals as a family. It's open to our backyard, and you very much feel like you're just sitting outside with all the greenery. And so I really leaned into that with the drapes and the dark green chairs. And then the table is just a super functional table from Amazon that is totally indestructible. My kids can trash it, nothing will happen. And that has been wonderful to not have to worry about that there, because there's lots of arts and crafts that are done here. So then if you come this way, when we bought the house, this was all closed up, and this was actually the formal dining room. And so because of the relation to the kitchen, we wanted this to become our family room. So we widened this opening quite a bit. So they're two separate rooms, but they very much relate to each other and feel like they're completely open. So if you move this way, this is our family room. This is where my kids hang out and watch TV and watch movies and play. And my one thing that I felt really, really strongly about when we did this room was that I wanted it to be a space where they could live and live comfortably, but I could put away all their toys at the end of the day and not have to look at the chaos. And so we were very thoughtful about how we integrated that. So if you come over this way, we built this window seat that is the whole length of the wall. And not only does it give us a ton of additional seating, which we use on a very regular basis when we're entertaining, all the drawers are an opportunity for toys to be hidden away. So these are all filled to the brim. My kids know that they can take anything they want out and play with it. It just has to go back in at the end of the day. And so this is a nice way to keep the room feeling clean, but still really functional as a room where my kids can be. And the idea is that it's just comfortable in here. It's easy. We've got an ottoman for everyone to put their feet up. The sofa has taken a beating, but it still looks pretty decent. And then these are mid-century chairs that I bought at a vintage shop when we lived downtown. Probably at this point, it's been like, I would say 12 years, and they have moved from 3 different homes with us, reupholstered. They're super comfortable, and they've just always sort of made their way into our house. Over here, we added some built-ins so that we could have some space to display meaningful things and books and pictures. And I knew that I wanted to buy this photograph when we bought the house. And so I designed the built-ins around this piece. It's a photograph by Nantucket photographer Michael Gaillard. It's of the Mattakit Creeks, and I just absolutely love it. I love the colors. I love being reminded of one of my favorite places when I'm in here. And so we designed this whole wall to accommodate this piece. Silly me, when I had one child and I was designing this, I thought this was going to be a perfect spot for everyone to sit and do their homework, and that was how we designed it. It is not at all how it's used. It's actually most of the time used as a changing table, which is very chic, but very functional. And when we have guests, it's easy to clear off. And it also just keeps this walkway feeling very open, which I think is important now that we live in the house and kind of see that that would not be a spot we would want to clog up with chairs. So now I will take you upstairs to our primary suite. This piece here is actually a scarf. My mom was wearing it to dinner one night years ago, and I took it off of her and was looking at it, and I was like, this is way too pretty to be bunched up around your neck. You should frame it. And a few months later, she had it framed and gave it to me as a gift. And so this is just that special piece with a great story. So coming in here is our primary suite. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big bed person. It's my happiest place. So I really wanted this to be a sanctuary for me. We used this Schumacher Madame Pompadour paper, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I wanted that garden feel in here as well. And I kept everything else really sort of neutral and calm, and like my sheets and my bedding is of the utmost importance to me in terms of comfort. The nightstands are vintage pieces that I found years ago and had lacquered. And then when we first moved in, I had Laura Deems commission these 2 pieces from her just to add in something sort of unexpected on the paper. I liked the juxtaposition of the abstract art on top of the chinoiserie paper. And then one thing we did do during the construction is the rear elevation of the house really bothered me. It felt like it was sort of, there was no rhyme or reason to where things were. And so our architect came up with the idea of adding this 2nd floor terrace to create some cohesion along the back. And as an added bonus, we got this little seating area off of our bedroom. This chair over here, although a little bit worse for the wear, was my brother's chair in his nursery. And I commandeered it and took it as my own. And then my sister needle pointed me a pillow, which is so special. And then the company out of the UK, Hunt and Hope, they did this needlepoint pillow for us in the color scheme of the room. So if you come through here, this is our primary closet. So this actually used to be the primary bedroom of the house, and our bedroom was a guest bedroom. There was a hallway through here. So we took this over as our closet. It's a ton of storage. I do like clothing and fashion, and so it gives me a spot for all of those things, and a really nice place to get ready together. So this is our little patio off our bedroom. It's not the most beautiful day, but it's a nice spot to sit and just have a drink or read a book, and you're separated from everything, and you've got a beautiful view of the backyard and all the greenery. My favorite thing about our house is that we live and use every inch of it. I think what I felt really strongly about is that I didn't want a house that I felt like we were sort of like wandering around in, and that there would be a space that we weren't using. And We really use and live in all of this house, and I love that. And I love when my kids ask to have breakfast in our dining room, or, you know, we go and like play a game in our living room, in spaces that I think are maybe not as obvious to use on an everyday basis. I love that as a family we live in those rooms. I am like the ultimate homebody, and I would do everything out of my home. So when I think of home, I really think of like my nest. It's where I'm raising my kids, it's where I'm happiest, it's where I'm most comfortable. It's sort of like the root of everything for me.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hey Homeworthy, my name's Candace Griffin, and I want to give you a little tour of my Evanston, Illinois home. Come on in. Hi, my name's Candace Griffin. I am here in my home. We're in Evanston, Illinois. This is a row house in South Evanston, very close to downtown Evanston, Northwestern, and then also still very close to Chicago. This is a 3-bedroom home that we absolutely love. We've been able to put our spin on it, and it feels really special. And yeah, we love it. We love the house. We love being in Evanston. Took us a little time to get to the state that it's in now, but we absolutely love it. I got into the design world. Honestly, it's always been in me. My grandmother was someone who was very creative, so my company name is Candace Mary Interiors. Mary is my grandmother, my late grandmother's name, and so I kind of feel like a lot of that creativity stemmed from her. I was just telling someone the other day, I remember like from a very young age that like I was really into set design, like more than the average kid. Like I'd be watching a movie, like specifically Three Men and a Little Lady, and like the loft in that, like just always like, I don't know, like those things always really stuck out to me. So it's always been in me, but I didn't pursue it. I pursued it, I think, when I was around like 22, 23. And really for me, that was just like decorating my own spaces, decorating friends' spaces, taking pictures, trying to build a portfolio, and, you know, seeing who would give me a chance. So I actually moved from Michigan to Chicago to kind of take a chance on myself, and that's kind of how I started in the design world. So I started working for a staging company, and I felt like that was a really great way to kind of get my firsthand experience. And from there, it just kind of kept snowballing. So I did that for a while. We moved to California for a while while my wife was in business school, and I had the opportunity to work for some staging and design companies there, and then ultimately that led me back to Michigan, where I'm originally from, and I started Candace Mary Interiors. So we are in the entry of the house, the foyer per se. It's honestly the first spot you see when you walk in the door, and I absolutely love this space because all the natural light, I think it's like 30-foot ceilings. There's some recessed lighting up top, and this space was a little challenging at first, just because I wasn't exactly sure how to highlight this, but I kind of decided to just really focus on oversized sconces and kind of let the lighting and the outdoors kind of creep indoors, and that would kind of speak for itself. So this spot actually will take you into the living room, and that's the first place that I'm gonna give you the tour of. So this is the living space, and honestly, this is the heart of our home. This was actually, you know, when I walked in immediately, this was a space that I wanted to get our hands on first. We knew that we were gonna have to do the sort of renovations in this house kind of piece by piece, so I really chose to focus on the spaces that we were gonna spend the most time. We love to hang, we love to watch movies, we love to entertain, so I really wanted to think about ways that we could just really make the living room pop. So first thing I started with was paint color. Like I knew that I wanted it to be moody, and I wanted it to be a light color that translated in the daytime and then also the nighttime. So we went through, I would say probably like 20 paint samples, and we finally got it right. This paint color is Sherwin-Williams Scattered Showers. So I just love that depending on which way the light is coming in at the time of day, it gets a little bit moodier, a little bit brighter. And so that was sort of the foundation for creating this whole space. Another thing that I wanted to do, this to me, when we walked in, felt just like a big empty wall and just was not being utilized. So I immediately knew I wanted to do a built-in, but something that felt, really still elegant. It felt functional, but also, I really loved the reading behind the TV, and that played in nicely with the frame. Really fun, beautiful hardware. This is from Buster & Punch. This is like one of my favorite hardware companies. So just mixing that moodiness with the gold and the light wood tones. One of the biggest splurges in this room, I will say, is these are the Kelly Wearstler brass sconces. I absolutely love them, and I think that they make this the bookcase. So another favorite thing of mine on this bookshelf is the record area. So I am big like music person. So this is actually a gift from a friend. It's a Shinola record player, and it's beautiful, and also just the sound quality is awesome. We love listening to records. I love thrifting through records, collecting them, and so we really spend a lot of the time in this room just hanging out and listening to music. So this corner gets utilized a lot, and we really love it. So from here, the next thing I wanted to do was really draw your eye up and kind of create this almost like hotel lobby vibe. There's a hotel in Detroit called Shinola Hotel that just has like really inviting, but also just fun and playful. So I wanted really dramatic drapery over here, but as we know, custom drapery can be very expensive. So this is actually like one of my budget finds. I think the company is called budgetdrapery.com. And what I did was I just tried to get a really close color match, almost to just make this like feel like its own cove. And then one of my other favorite things about this room is, I want to show you, we have a partnership with Somfy, and we have shades that are all custom controlled. We can do it on our phone. We can adjust them any time of the day, and really just anyone who's looking for automatic blinds that still look good and are really user-friendly, highly recommend Somfy. So this is another favorite feature of this living room. So this is our dog Dilla. We got her when we were living in Detroit, and she's actually named after one of my favorite musicians, a Detroit producer named Jay Dilla. And she's a golden doodle, and she's awesome. She's had a little transition with Quincy, our daughter, but overall I feel like she is just happy, and she's a major part of our family, so we love her. One of my favorite things in this room is this. It's a 60-inch round coffee table, and this is actually a friend of mine who's in Detroit literally built this and drove this down for me. I knew that I wanted it to be black and round, and I think it just really grounds the space. And honestly, it's been really good for Quincy too. She loves hanging on this table and kind of, as she was learning to walk, like take her little hands and kind of, carry herself around it. So we love this table. We eat on this table. We play games on this table. It's become a house for Quincy's books. At one point we had all of our beautiful coffee table books, and it really does just ground this room. One of my other favorite pieces is, we really love the club chairs, and just that little, I think, subtle of that peach pop really kind of counters the darkness of the drapery and the blue paint. So we really love this area. Another one of our favorite things in the space is I really love artwork that kind of makes you feel something. I love to see people dancing. Again, we are like big music people, so you'll see kind of throughout the house like lots of photographs of musicians. So I, of course, have Sade here on the wall, and then just a cool graphic print from H.E. Buttercup, which is one of my favorite stores based in California. And then this has been a long time favorite photograph of mine. It is photographer Malik Sidibe, and it really is to me just like the epitome of like, take your shoes off, kick back, have a good time, not too precious. And so I feel like that kind of speaks to my overall design style. And this picture here, my wife's grandfather worked for Jaguar. He was their marketing person back in the day. So this is actually a collaboration with Jaguar and Massimo. So that was given to us as a gift, and it's the first thing you see when you walk in the room. All right, so welcome to the dining room. So this is sort of the heart of the home. This is where we spend most of our time hanging out, eating, spending time with family, friends. So we, like I mentioned, we really like to entertain. We love hosting. And so when we initially came into this house, I immediately thought this would be a really great opportunity to do some sort of bar. My wife really loves making craft cocktails, and so this was also one of the first projects that we took on. We added plumbing, and we really wanted to kind of do a high and low feel and just be conscious of budget. So we mixed IKEA with some custom elements. So we did the IKEA cabinetry, and then I actually had them framed out with like a white oak laminate to give them the more custom feel. And then we trimmed it out in the same way. So it really feels built in. And we also used, again, this is an IKEA countertop. They have some really good, cost-effective, affordable selections that really feel very high end. So we use this area all the time as a coffee bar. This is usually where Pipa is making her magic cocktails happen. And another thing that was really important to me in this space was like a detail that I was not willing to bend on was having this brass sink. I truly feel that it just makes the space feel even more elegant, more elevated. So this is definitely a little splurge that I'm really happy that we ended up going forward with. Another thing is I really am someone who likes to bounce around light. I think mirrors can do wonders in opening up a space and just bouncing the light around and making it feel huge. So I knew immediately I wanted to do sort of a smoky glass mirror in the background. And I think it just honestly just kills this whole space. So this is really, you know, one of the spots we gravitate to, even just to like make coffee, or when we host gatherings, we'll use this for, you know, laying out food and hosting, and really one of the biggest value adds for the way that we live in this home. So as I mentioned, Pipa's grandfather worked for Jaguar, and wanted to show you these really cool vintage glasses that she got from him as an heirloom gift. We honestly never use them, but I think she really takes pride in just knowing that they're here. And yeah, they're literally from the launch of Jaguar. So it's a very cool thing to have, and really nice that they were passed along to us. So usually after we're doing any prep work over here or cocktails are being made, we kind of gravitate into this big open dining space. I absolutely love this table. This is funny, I kind of pieced this together from an outlet, Crate and Barrel outlet, and then did a little digging, was able to get the legs and kind of make it all come together for a really budget friendly price. These chairs we love. I feel like they're super versatile, and they just round out the table. These are from Room and Board. And we really just love sitting here. Again, it is a rainy kind of crappy day, but typically there's lots of people walking by, there's people playing pickle at the tennis court or tennis, and it almost just becomes this like backdrop for like what's going on around us. So we really love this space and really gravitate to it. So again, this was another wall when we walked in that I was like, this is where we're gonna hang. We need to do something fun here, add a little personality. Again, always thinking like cost-effective solutions in a lot of these spaces. So what we did here was just add a little bit of texture. I wanted it to not compete with everything else that was going to be happening in the space, but really just kind of warm it up. So I used like a warm shiitake paint. It's actually by Sherwin-Williams, and just created this backdrop for this sweet moment when we're having dinner. We have this really bold piece of art. It is a Basquiat reproduction. It's funny because now Quincy sits at the table and says Joe, because I'll say that's Joe. So we really just like this, and it's a conversational piece. I always encourage people, like, if you have something that people can talk about, have something that starts the conversation, and that question of, what is that? What do you like about that? Where'd you get that from? So this is just a great little space where we have our lighting, our pictures, and then always just like a statement piece of art. It was when we moved in, the house was, I would say, there were college students living here. So it was functioning in a way that it felt almost like for roommates and not a family. So I would say it was a little dark, it was a little dreary. The wood trim was overwhelming in my opinion. So I know it's controversial, but I painted a lot of the wood trim. It just felt like it needed some warmth and it needed some pulling together. So one of the first things that we did when we moved in was painted. And I feel like that alone just made a huge difference, and the space felt much brighter and just like much more our style. So welcome to our kitchen that will soon be under light construction. So while we knew that we weren't ready to take on the kitchen when we initially moved in, one of the things that I did when we first got the space was there was a row of cabinetry here, uppers, that I have eventually just had them removed so we could let in that natural light. We are also people that we like to watch TV, so like this allows you to still be engaged with what's happening in this space if you want to watch TV, and also just let the natural light come in. So while we didn't really get into like the details of the kitchen, I really wanted to get those cabinets out so we could just open the space up even more. Yes, you guys, it is a white refrigerator. It is temporary, but yes, so this is where we're at right now. But really the flow is good. I love the galley kitchen. I think it just really kind of brings you into another favorite spot in the house, which is this breakfast nook. So Peepa really likes to puzzle. So she'll actually sit here and puzzle. Quincy uses this to like sit here, look out the window, knock and bang and wave at people. Our dog loves sitting here. And I actually, when I'm not working in the studio, this is my spot. So I'll post up my laptop, samples, whatever I'm doing, and really just kind of hunker down in this cozy little space. So again, really wanting to brighten it up. One of the biggest things I did was we painted the trim white, and I added this really fun but still subtle Holly Hunt pattern wallpaper. So I just like how it makes it feel like its own space, and it really just kind of makes the space even more inviting. We also had this custom, sorry, there's a lag there. One of the other things we did, because I knew that I wanted it to be a seating area, was I had a custom bench built that really kind of frames out that window space. Again, playing off some of the texture that I really like. We did this fluted bottom here, and then these cushions, which are removable and really easy to wipe and very kid-friendly, to really just kind of finish the space. And then also, I am a big fan of dramatic lighting. I think lighting and paint can literally change any space. So really I wanted something that just kind of centered, grounded, not too in your face, but I feel like this globe just really kind of brings it all together. So those are some of the changes that I made. Oh, and one other thing, speaking of my favorite thing again, the shades. We also did this in the breakfast nook, and again, it's just It's really nice just to be able to have that, bring them down, bring them up, and I feel like they add a lot of texture to the space. So now we're in our den area, which is right off of our kitchen, and I am such a lover of natural light and walked into this house and I was like, we have to like make moments in this room. So if you see, we have the glass ceiling, so it's nice, you can hear the raindrops, the sun comes in, and so I really just wanted this to be serene. So some of the things that I did to just kind of let the space kind of sell itself was, I really wanted to get ample amount of seating in, so I did a really long oversized leather sofa, again, very kid-friendly. We've spilt all types of things on the sofa and we've not had any issues. So it's very cozy, very inviting. This space Quincy spends a lot of time in. We will have her toys sort of laid out, her books. This is her little rocker she likes to hang out in. And one of my favorite features in the room is the grass cloth wallpaper. Again, just lots of texture, adding the warmth. It really just, I love what it did for the space. Here we have, again, we have our TVs, but I'm really conscious about them not looking like TVs. So we have another frame that we really love, and we just kind of mirrored that with lots of greenery, lots of plants. We've got like our wedding books and just different coffee table books that we like. Yeah, so I really just wanted this to kind of feel like a little bit of nature. And then the one bonus of this room is taking it back to my Michigan roots, like we love a fire, so immediately I knew that this had to be our home. Having this fireplace, again, I'm really drawn to bold art that shows expression and people having a good time. So this feature wall was a huge selling point for us. So this painting, actually, I initially got it for a client project, and then it somehow luckily landed back in my arms. And again, I went really neutral in this space, so I think this just gives it that little bit of pop. It brings in a little bit of the greenery from the plants, a little blue from the sky, and I think it's kind of unsuspecting in this space. Like everything is very calm and neutral, and then now you have this sort of bold moment, and I think it just really does a good job of framing out the fireplace. One of the hacks that I did to make the space feel a little bit more modern is I painted all of this casing here black. We painted the mantle black, and it really, this stone, which at first felt to me like a little dated and like we need to switch out immediately, actually changing it with just the paint, I totally love it, and I think it works, and it really just, gave the space new life. So this is definitely one of our favorite spots in the house. All right, so now I'm gonna take you upstairs. We are gonna see my daughter's nursery. You're not gonna see my room today. You guys know I have a toddler, like there was no time to make the bed, but hopefully you'll love Quincy's room. So come on up. So I know when people think of nursery, it's soft and, kind of kiddish, and I really wanted it to be a space that felt kiddish, but also a little sophistication. So this was a great opportunity for us to add some molding. I knew right away that I wanted it to be a blush molding. And in deciding on what we wanted to do with the walls, I didn't want to be locked into wallpaper that she ultimately might decide, I don't know, when her toddler years and has lots of opinions, which she's already getting there, that she hated them. So I chose to go with the decal and then go with the neutral wall color. I found a really great affordable rug. I believe this is from Overstock, that had just a little bit of pattern in it. It's really cozy. This is like one of our, not even just Quincy, like we will come in here and like send emails and hang out in this glider. We actually spend a lot of time in this room. I wanted to really make it feel like a space, like I said, that felt, a little bit of sophistication, but also childlike. I lucked up and found someone on Facebook Marketplace that refurbishes vintage pieces. So this is actually a piece from the 70s that this really awesome woman, she paints, she redoes all the hardware, does all the staining, and it really ended up being a great find. And this was also during the time of when lead times were crazy with furniture. So I think it started, we were actually like had purchased another piece, and it was just like getting pushed back and pushed back. And I like to call this one a happy accident, because this ended up, you know, kind of, we saw it and immediately loved it and were able to get it instantly. So I really wanted to do a funky chandelier. I love a mantis chandelier, and I was like thinking about the perfect opportunity to do it in our home, and I felt like Quincy's Nursery was just the perfect spot for it. And so I married that with a dark ceiling. So this is actually like a burgundy kind of wine colored ceiling. And I like that because we have, with the slatted ceilings, we actually kind of have the room to play because the ceilings feel so high. And I thought that the dark would kind of calm Quincy when she's in her nursery. And honestly, it all just, the colors really just worked well together. Here we just have all of her books and, you know, all of her stuffed animals and things that she can easily just go grab and pull off as she sees fit. And then this is our little bedtime area. So we'll sit here, we'll read books. Back in the thick of things, newborn, this thing would recline and you could really just sleep here and get cozy. And this is also another really fun piece in the room. This is a crib from Nestic. I love their pieces. I've actually done some work with them, and I started with this piece, and I feel like the relationship sort of grew from there. But I love their cribs. I love that they can transition. So this actually started as a mini crib, and then transitioned to where we're at now, and it'll go into a toddler bed. And you're really able to kind of like customize the color and the personality. So yeah, we really, really love this. And then I just did some simple art, and I just love the black and white on the black and white, and just hopefully reminding Quincy that she's a queen and that she can do all things. So really just simple, bold statement, and very clean. The last thing I think in this space is this was actually a gift from a friend of mine who is a designer in New York. Randomly commented on a post that I saw. He had one in a different color, and I was like, oh my God, I absolutely love that. What is that? Like, how? And so he sent it to me as a gift, and it's become something that, like, you know, Dilla will hang out on, or we'll kick our feet up. And now I feel like Quincy even like kind of crawls over it and uses that as kind of like a toy in the room. So it really is just kind of grown with us in the space. So home to me means a place that you can just relax and be yourself. And, you know, I think every corner of your home can tell a story and be, you know, reflective of you and your family and your personality. So I personally have always focused on creating cozy spaces. I think that's just like who I am as a person. So I want it to look good, but I also want it to feel inviting and not stiff, and I want people to stay a while. And so I think home to me feels like a place that you feel your most self, and you feel like you don't need to be or do anything else. Like, the world is crazy enough, so to be able to come home and just let loose, whatever that looks like, you know, that's what home means to me.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jessica. Welcome to my Chicago home. Come on in and let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, welcome to my home. My name is Jessica Lagrange. I'm an interior designer for over 30 years, based in Chicago. I live in a beautiful 1930s Art Deco co-op building in the Gold Coast area of Chicago. We're about a block from Lake Michigan, and I feel very, very fortunate to live in such a beautiful area and have a beautiful apartment. What I love about this building is that it is one apartment per floor, so it feels very much like a home. I believe there are 12 stories. There's one apartment per floor. It's about 4,000 square feet. Some lucky residents are lucky enough to have 2 floors. We just have 1 floor. It is a 3-bedroom apartment, a very spacious living room, dining room, library, and a beautiful entrance foyer. I think what's unique about the apartment is the circular floor plan. It's very gracious, and it's not typical of the typical Chicago apartments where you see long railroad apartments. The architect designed that on purpose so it allows light on all sides of the apartment. As you exit the elevator into our apartment, you are greeted into this small little elevator vestibule. It's 1 apartment per floor, so the elevator opens directly into our unit. I think what makes this elevator vestibule special is the technique that I used on the walls and the ceiling. It's called verre églamisé. It's a very old technique of gold or silver leaf behind glass. And I've used it on the ceiling and on the walls. We've pieced it. But I think what makes this verre églamisé so successful is it has little drawings incorporated into it. And it goes back to my jungle flora and fauna theme that came out during my design process. There are little drawings of leopards and antelopes and palm trees. And it's just a beautiful technique. It was from a company called Gorman Studios out of Vancouver. And we worked with him to come up with a complete design. This is actually the service elevator. We created a jib door, so it covers the service elevator, but yet the whole room looks like it's paneled. I even did it on the ceiling. But I think to walk into this very dark, sexy space creates a huge impact. As we enter into the foyer, we designed 2 beautiful metal and bronze doors that are reminiscent of the doors at the entrance of the building. Some parts and pieces of this original apartment were missing, but I felt it was my duty to kind of bring it back to what I thought it may have been back at the time. We even found these beautiful Art Deco bronze door handles on a salvage website based in London, so we incorporated those into the design. We had a machine shop here in Chicago make these. As you enter our foyer, you have the beautiful terrazzo floor. I added the little brass cabochon. I felt the floor needed a little bit more zip to it, so gave it a little bit more glamour. Beautiful vaulted ceiling. One of my great finds was these beautiful Fortuny fixtures. At one time back in the day, Restoration Hardware was representing or selling Fortuny fixtures, so this was a great find that looked beautiful in here. Collected some beautiful antique furniture. I love the little settee we have here with the green and black animal print, the abstract collage above. Again, I think what makes this room successful is this series of different periods and styles. I think what is really great about this foyer is the little bar we have as you walk in. I've upholstered the bar in a beautiful purpley burgundy leather with studs. It feels great right when you enter someone's house to be offered a drink. I've even collected some beautiful barware with all my crazy collections from live auctioneers and all sorts of different places. And it just represents everything about me and what we like to do, and makes this foyer feel like its own space. Some of the favorite barware I've collected are a little oil can, so you can have the perfect amount of vermouth in your martini. I even found a sterling silver syringe to put vermouth in, again, for your martinis. We love to have some stirs. I'm a big collector of Elsa Peretti. This is one of her beautiful martini glasses that she designed back in the day. And I think it's so much fun to put it all together. My favorite coasters are the Mrs. Strong's paper coasters that says, "This is your last drink." Very successful towards the end of a party to pass these out. And on the other side here, we have some vintage barware at the top. And my favorite glassware, I had little bugs engraved on all the different stemware. So every stemware has a little bug on it. But again, more vintage barware over here, and I just think it looks fabulous all together. The building that I live in was designed by a prominent Chicago architect, Philip Maher. His father was an architect, George Maher, and they were quite well known in the city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. George, the father, designed a lot of prairie-style buildings. His son took over the practice and designed a lot more classical-style buildings, a little bit Art Deco. This was in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. The building that we live in the Gold Coast was designed in 1929, and shortly after that, he designed another building. I'll call it a sister building, very similar in style, directly across the street. They're very beautiful and prominent buildings in the city of Chicago. Philip also designed the Women's Athletic Club about the same period on Michigan Avenue. And when I was renovating this apartment, I took a lot of cues from the Women's Athletic Club and incorporated them here in our home. This is a unique building. The woman that sold the properties to the developers back in the 1920s, I honestly can't remember her name, but she said, I want to live on the 4th floor and I want a particular layout. So this apartment is unique to this building. I think the woman that lived in this apartment wanted to be at treetop level. We are a block from the lake, so we have some views of the lake. We have the views of the treetops. We have a beautiful park across the street. So it's just perfect. I have a sense of what's down below, but I also have some beautiful views. I think what's really beautiful is to see all the leaves that change through the seasons, see the bare trees, the trees just blossoming. It's the perfect apartment. I couldn't be happier here. Welcome to the living room. Another favorite room in my house. As you can see, I've decorated it with a lot of neutral colors. I think the views from this space are incredible with the park across the street. One of my favorite pieces in my living room is the spider web designed by Anne Carrington. It consists of bugs and spiders, and there's even coins incorporated in here and safety pins. She's an artist from the UK, and I'm very inspired by her work. So we had it specially designed above the fireplace. Speaking of the fireplace, there was a very insignificant fireplace here. So we had a new one designed. It's cast glass. It felt very appropriate, kind of from the 40s. David Adler, a well-known architect that did a lot of work here in the Chicago area, used a lot of cast glass in his room, so it felt appropriate to be using it in this living room. It has some silver leaf behind it, so it lets off a beautiful, beautiful glow. Another one of my favorite pieces is an Eric Schmidt, who's a well-known sculptor, and I found this in New York City many, many years ago. So it's gone with me to several homes, but I think it's found a beautiful place in front of the fireplace, and everyone loves sitting here. It's actually a very comfortable chair. We have 2 seating groups in this living room. We've created one by the fireplace, where I've done 2 coffee tables, a little bit more contemporary, in beautiful rosewood. Simple cubes designed for the space. And then as you go across to the other seating group, I have a beautiful vintage Kelvin and Philip Laverne coffee table that has a beautiful, it's a beautiful organic shape with some drawings on top of it. So I think they play nicely off each other. It was a great exercise for me to design my own apartment in the last few years. I think I'm in a different place in my life now. It was interesting to see things come out in my style that I wasn't that familiar with. I was attracted to, I'll just say, flora and fauna. As I say to people that come to my home, welcome to my jungle. There was an underlying theme that came out during this process of flora, fauna, bugs, all sorts of things. And you'll see that when I give you a tour of the apartment. And I have to say my style is very eclectic. I love to collect things. It's always a work in progress. It's never finished, and it only gets better the longer I stay here. So I've really enjoyed this process. I think designing for yourself is one of the hardest things. It's much easier to design for a client, but this has been really, really fun and enlightening. I think what brings me the greatest joy coming into my home is seeing all the things I've collected, back to collections again. It brings back memories. I love looking at my photographs. I love looking at the art I've collected. It all has a purpose to me, and it all has a history. So that to me gives me the greatest joy. One of the other favorite pieces that I found during this design process in New York at the 200 Lex Design Center was this beautiful secretary designed, I think, about 1950s by Piero Fornasetti. If you're not familiar with Fornasetti, he is an Italian designer and artist from Milan. He did a lot of furniture, objects, and went in and out of style, but when I found this piece, he was very much in style. So it's beautifully lit. It's black and white, beautiful architectural drawings on it. And I've put some of my favorite collectibles. As I'd mentioned before, I love collecting Elsa Preti objects. And these are a collection of my Elsa Preti objects. And again, just some of my favorite things. One of the earlier selections that I made in the design process was this beautiful rug by Christopher Farr. It is silk and has a beautiful serpentine, actually several serpentines that wrap around the outside of the room that we had specially designed. And I think what's beautiful is the pomegranate at the in the snake's mouth at the end of the rug. And you'll see that we planned it exactly to work with the floor plan. I think what makes this room successful, and in many of the projects that we do, is combining different periods and different styles of furniture. To the right here, we have a beautiful John Saladino sofa that was designed in the 70s that is still current today. I have some vintage Art Deco chairs, again, another period and another style. We've also incorporated some beautiful upholstery pieces from Roman Thomas, Madeline Stewart. So I think it's a series of, or it's a combination of many different styles that makes this room look comfortable and collected. I have an interesting journey the way I started my career in interior design. I went off to college for a couple of years, not knowing what I wanted to do. I came back home thinking, what is my path? Where am I gonna go? I was lucky enough to have somebody connect me with the great firm Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and they hired me as an intern. I had no experience. It was just somebody that opened the door for me. I think that's so important for me to do to other people and to give back in that way. So that set me on my career path. After that, I decided I need to go back to get an education in this. I think it's super important to have some type of education, whether it's a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree in design. I graduated from the School of the Art Institute here in Chicago. And again, was able to get some internships at another architectural firm. And then I started off on my own path. It was interesting. I started out doing commercial work, but I was having some of my commercial clients ask me to work on their homes. And at first I turned it down. I really thought residential design was not my forte. But again, somebody gave me the opportunity. Someone opened the door for me and I helped them do their home. And one job led to another. Another one was somebody I was carpooling with when I had my children. Could I help her with some draperies? And I'm like, I really don't do draperies, I do offices. And one thing led to another, It's my best client ever, and I've done 3 or 4 homes for them. And started my own firm, Jessica Lagrange Interiors, about 25 years ago. Started by myself, and it's grown. And I couldn't be more proud of it. And it's a rewarding, exciting career. Every day is different. I've now entered my dining room. Again, one of the earlier pieces to this puzzle was this beautiful, beautiful Zubair grisaille wall covering. Again, specially designed for the room. We had it all laid out based on ceiling heights and openings. And I just love the colors. It's all in naturals and grays. And if you look closely, there's even some beautiful gold detailing. So it feels very understated, but yet there's an elegance to it. Another, I think, highlight of this room is the beautiful Hervé van der Straten chandelier. And I love the play between the very traditional wall covering and the more contemporary lighting in this space. I think they play off wonderfully from each other. I feel a home is always a work in progress. I'd been searching recently for some chairs to put on either side of my buffet, and I just found some a couple of weeks ago. These are beautiful 40s, maybe 50s Aldo Turo vintage chairs, done in a beautiful dark parchment with a shearling seat. I think, again, they add a special detail and make the room look very collected. Another great find on Live Auctioneers is this beautiful Jacques Annette bar cart. Has some nice leather detailing. That is a signature of his work, and got to have a bar in every room. So we added one to the dining room for after dinner drinks. We have beautiful double doors into our dining room, and I love to keep them closed and be able to open them right before we serve dinner. Have all the candles lit, all the flowers, all the beautiful china that I have and glassware, and why not use it all the time? Don't save it for special occasions, but bring it out, and it's fun to set a fabulous table, and I think your guests really appreciate the effort. I love the beautiful gold vases. They're nothing special, but they are fun to accessorize with. I usually just have some odd floral. You can be very loose with it. Right now I have some eucalyptus in there, but I like to keep it low and not just have one big centerpiece. So it's fun to play around with this. Also, the candlesticks I've had for years and very collectible. And again, just to scatter them down the table makes things feel a little bit more casual, I think. And everyone looks good in candlelight. So we need a lot of candlelight, especially at our age. It's obviously become apparent I'm a collector, and one of the things I started collecting early on were silver boxes. Back in the day, I used to go to flea markets, and they weren't expensive. They've gotten more expensive, but luckily I think I'm maxed out with my silver box collection. I think they look beautiful displayed all together. This is one of my favorite silver boxes because it's a box on top of a box, which I'd never seen before, so that one was unique. I think what's unique too are the ones that all have initials or things written on them. So again, maybe not my history, but somebody's history, and it's nice to be able to incorporate them in my life. I started collecting back when I was in my early teens. I think my mother always loved going to flea markets, garage sales, etc. So it's kind of part of my personality. Lately, it's amazing the things that you find online. I think one of my biggest secrets, and I'm not sure it's a secret, is a website called Live Auctioneers. It's better than any flea market, better than any antique show that I've been to. And for those of you that are listening, if you don't know what it is, look up Live Auctioneers. It consolidates all the auctions from across not only the US, but the world. And you can find things for $25 and $25,000. And it's an obsession of mine. A lot of the things I've found in my apartment have come from Live Auctioneers. I've gone off a little bit off the deep end a few times, and things have arrived a little bit larger, smaller, or more than I expected, but it's really fun, and there are many, many bargains to be had. This is the original layout of the kitchen. We were lucky when we bought this apartment that the cabinetry was all here in place, but it was kind of a boring white kitchen, so we decided to hip it up a little bit. I painted all the cabinets a high gloss black lacquer. We changed the stone to Calcutta Violette, and we put in a new hood, specially designed the hood, and it gave it kind of a new life without having to replace all the cabinetry. Beautiful unlacquered brass, industrial style hardware, nice and chunky. Appliances were all here, so we just kind of gave it a mini facelift. Some of the other things I've collected over the years are trophies. Again, going back to my flea market days, nobody wanted trophies. So I have a large collection of trophies here, as well as another house we have. And those were fun collecting, as well as bud vases. I was collecting bud vases over the years. Again, nobody wanted bud vases, but I've got a great collection of them now. So it's a hodgepodge of everything in here, but it all means a lot to me. This is our library. I think it's one of the most used rooms in the home. Behind the cabinetry, we have a big screen TV, so of course everyone hangs out in here. What was difficult about this room was the paneling was here when we bought the apartment, but it was a very orangey pine, kind of 1980s looking paneling. So what I did was bleach the paneling, wire brush it, and restain it. And I think we gave it a really pretty brownish gray color that felt a little bit more updated than what was here. We also opened up the library to the living room, so you have a beautiful view into the living room and into the dining room. Again, I think what makes a house a home is the collection of books, and my partner is a serious reader, as am I, and lots of books. I've been a collector of the beautiful Abercrombie and Fitch, beautiful leather footstools over the years, and my collection keeps growing. I've got a elephant and a kitty cat and a hippopotamus, and again, add some personality to the space. We have beautiful drawings that I collected on either side of the window by Sonia Delaunay that bring a little color to the space. This room has more color than the other rooms. I've used green in here. My partner adores green, so he got his green in here. And the little paintings, I think, really add a pop of color, as do the green sewn chairs. And I think the green and black look fabulous together. Beautiful kind of deco-y looking rug by Galbraith and Paul, and a beautiful parchment coffee table by Metaliano. A lot of my favorite vendors that we use for all our clients. Before you walk into the powder room, I found a beautiful mirror on First Dibs by Poilerat. And I just think it really is a sensational piece, and I feel very fortunate to have it. And luckily, it fit perfectly between the front hall closet and the powder room entrance. I think as a designer, one of the favorite areas I like to design are powder rooms. You can be really bold and outrageous because it's a contained space. So I did the same here. I've always been obsessed with marbleized papers. There's a wonderful artist in the States here that will customize marbleized papers for you. And we came up with a series of paint colors, and she did about 5 or 6 different papers for us. And then we patchworked them in this room. So they're all different sizes and shapes. I think I drove the wall covering installer a little crazy, but we even put it on the ceiling, and I just think it makes for a very eclectic space. One of the other highlights in here are the sconces on either side of the mirror. They're a mermaid and a merman. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a merman, but they hold the beautiful lights in the room. And every home needs a little bit of a Nero Portoro stone. The black with the gold veining is the vanity here. And again, another favorite space. It's really fun to be able to design for yourself. I think what gives a home its soul is its contents. Whenever I work with a client, I'm like, what do you collect? What are your favorite things? Show me the books you read. Let me look at your closet. There's so many clues to what people are when you see their belongings. And when I go on vacation, I love to collect things. I love to find things. I love books. I once had a client who had no books. I'm like, how can you not have any books? Books kind of describe a person's personality. Are they fashion books? Are they mystery books? Are they history books? And that's what gives an apartment its soul. Its belongings, its contents. And you see it here everywhere. This is our primary bedroom. The inspiration for my primary bedroom was the beautiful Chelsea Textiles drapery fabric that I had been eyeing for years. And again, it is a embroidered fabric with bugs that are jeweled and beautiful gold threads. And I know this was the inspiration for my master bedroom. I felt so fortunate to be able to use it in this space. So again, I'm drawn to more neutral color palettes, but was able to incorporate a little color in here. I wanted to use a screen behind my bed, so we found this beautiful Rebelli embroidered fabric that I had designed into a beautiful screen. Another find of mine that I just love is the beautiful Maison Charles light fixture on the ceiling. Again, a little glamorous, but comfortable. The Rosemary Hallgarten silk rug is just, I love that it leaves all the footprints and shimmers a little bit. I don't know, I just find it really inviting, and I work in here as well. When I'm working from home, a beautiful secretary that I've accessorized with some beautiful antique books and some things that I've collected over the years. And I just find it very, very inviting and comfortable in here. Another favorite piece I'd wished for years was this beautiful Merritt Oppenheim ostrich leg table. And again, found it on First Dibs and couldn't wait to use it. Again, I'm going back to my flora, fauna, and animal obsession. And I just think it's so sculptural and so classic. So again, pieces that are more traditional with pieces that are more contemporary, things that just never go out of style. They're classic. Another favorite piece that I found on Live Auctioneers is this kind of 1940s antique mirrored sideboard, and it just fit in here perfectly. As far as the reason to put the screen behind the bed was, I didn't want the bed to be the center or the focus of the room. I'd look for some artwork, couldn't really find any artwork that I was excited about, but I did fall in love with this fabric. I think the best way to incorporate this fabric was to have a screen designed using the fabric. I think it has since been discontinued from Rubelli, but again, it incorporated all my favorite colors, and it is like a piece of artwork. Starting with my first trip to Italy, I'd say maybe about 40 years ago, I was lucky enough to buy a beautiful, and I'm not sure which one it is, sterling silver seashell. And again, over the years, I have found more and more and more, and I think they look beautiful all massed and grouped together, and you can never have enough beautiful seashells. This is our master bath. Again, I was fortunate when I purchased the apartment that all of the millwork was here. It was a great layout, 2 separate vanities, a dressing table in the center. But what we did do was replace all the stone. I used a beautiful Calcutta stone, and I did a beautiful inlay by Waterworks. Again, collected beautiful silver, beautiful Venetian glass chandelier, and I created this nook for the tub area with the beautiful antique mirror. I love the sconces that I found in the Marche du Pouce in Paris, Murano glass ginkgo leaves, which I think are a showstopper. And of course, heated the floor, which makes all the difference in the world. But it's a joy to have so much natural light in here, view the treetops, and put on your makeup. I also found this beautiful grotto chair in Palm Beach, and I feel it fits in here perfectly. This is one of 2 guest bedrooms in our home. We have older children that come to visit, so we like to keep bedrooms waiting for them. We call this the red room. I wouldn't exactly call it red. It's more of a cinnabar color. It was a beautiful wall covering that kind of set the tone for this room that I found from Gregorius Pinio. And I think the other inspiration for this room was this beautiful Moroccan rug. You often think of Moroccan rugs as being more beige and brown, but this one had beautiful, soft, muted colors in it and worked really well with the wallpaper. When we moved in here originally, there was not any millwork, so I added the bookcases to the room. This is the bed that I had that we repurposed in this room. I think one of the little features that I did are the little reading lights that are on either side of the bed for our guests. Love these little high intensity lights. But I think this room really got the overflow of all my collections from our previous homes. So again, a hodgepodge. One of my favorite collections are these beautiful African passport masks that I have scattered throughout the house. Traveled a lot and came across beautiful little crosses from many different countries. So they're up here on the walls. Funky little folk art leg. Just a little bit of everything in here. So it brings back lots and lots of memories. My younger son, Remy, loves to stay in here. He finds it really welcoming. And again, I'm going to reference that we've got a Hans Wegner, 1950s, 60s Papa Bear chair here with an African stool. It's just, again, a collection. It looks like it's been here forever. And a lot of it has been here forever. One thing that I started collecting early on are these beautiful cashmere paisley shawls. You can see pieces of them on the bed, and I have them stacked here at the end of the bed. And I think I have enough now. I don't need any more, but they're fun to use as tablecloths or on the bar. And again, I love the colors. I think those were also an inspiration for the color in this room. We have a great collection on the wall across from me of vintage wax seals. Again, the same reddish colors. They are framed by the beautiful Fortuny draperies. And again, all my favorite things. I was lucky to be able to incorporate all my favorite things into this home. With my love of paisley, I even unexpectedly put it on the Hans Wegner chair. Usually you'll see this in a solid color fabric or a boucle, but I was a little bold. It's actually an Etro fabric. Etro does a lot of great paisleys. It wasn't a vintage piece, but Again, it's unexpected and I love it. I think growing up as a child, my mother had one paisley shawl. I've taken it to extremes, but don't know what I'm going to do with all of them, but I just love looking at them. They bring me such joy and beautiful colors. What does home mean to me? Home means somewhere I can feel comfortable, I can relax. It feels like my own space. It feels welcoming, feels warm, somewhere where I can just let go.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.